बर्ड्स की आवाज है. Da 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 da. Hello everybody. It's one more Saturday and we're here live together. We're slightly behind the schedule given to my poor network connection today, so I regret anybody who's been waiting. I'm really sorry about that. And thank you for holding on with your patience. And we are going to get Deepti connected right here on our live stream very soon. Deepti, please let me know if you are here so that I can add you on the live stream. Deepti, do we have you here? Would you just give me a wave if you are there? All right, in the meantime, while Deepti is connecting with us, I would just like to introduce Deepti's work and the reason why we have her here today. Sorry, if you just give me a moment, I think we need to set it up with Deepti. Like always. Network and these live streams. Test your patience. Da, 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 da. Hi, Deepti. Okay, I'm on live. Yeah, I'm on live. Do you see me there? Yeah, hi, Deepti. Hello. Ooh. Darling, can you help me?
Okay.
If you can just tell her that we are waiting. Everybody's waiting for her.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So Deepti, as I mentioned in my Instagram graphic, so she is a brilliant counselor, and especially when it comes to adolescent children, and she specializes in dealing with trauma, and she has a hands-on work with tweens and teens, and in fact even working along with their families. So she is very sensitive to this cause, and giving her education in neurosciences and behavior therapy, she has a great scientific take on things. And with that, do I see her in the house? I've talked all these amazing things about her while she's not been here. Deepti, do we have you here? Not yet. Guys, thank you for your patience. It should be anytime soon. Yes, I don't see you here. Hi, we are all waiting for you. Yeah, it's at Real Rakhi Oswal. Okay, you get out of your live and you connect to my live. Yeah, and then you come in and then I'll get you there. Hurry up. Okay, cool. All right. And so today she is going to talk, she's going to take us deeper into the importance of how our brain functions in terms of regulating our thoughts and emotions, because it's very important to understand how our brain functions so that we're able to master it. And that is where this entire calming piece is going to come in. And we have Deepti here. Let me get her in. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's a good timing. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Rakhi.
Hey, welcome. It was worth the wait. It's so good to have you here in the room.
Likewise, I think we've made our guest or audience wait quite a bit now. So shall we just kick off?
Yes, we're going to kick off. So while we were still waiting to get this whole connection rolling, I just introduced the audience to your work in behavior and neurosciences and all the great work that you're doing with children and parents. So just quickly before I leave it to you, I just want to say that there are two things that really connect me and Deepti, and one of them is I run this venture for kids called Spiritual Gym for Kids, and I have a real special corner for children, and that is what connects me to Deepti's work, because we both like to deeply dive into neurosciences when it comes to handling kids' behavior and emotions. And the second and most important connecting piece is that Deepti and I, we both have our origins in Ludhiana. So I'm very proud to say that Deepti is very much from Ludhiana, and she is doing a wonderful job serving everybody out there in UK, in her hometown in Leeds. And over to you, Deepti. Please take us through.
First of all, I'd like to start with thanking you, for honoring me with this opportunity, giving me this chance to actually be able to reconnect with my people in Ludhiana, along with the audience that might be joining us today. I suppose it's a very relevant topic that you have picked, and I am quite impressed with the kind of incredible work that you are sort of delivering, at your end. And yes, the main aspects of the features that really connect us are neuroscience, the handling of the brain and understanding the child's world. I think my basics are pretty much around child's work. However, as a child, the main sense of self that originates in a child is from their parents. So I think when you contacted me regarding the help with, the understanding of coping strategies, or just drawing few bits around it, I thought it was a very relevant topic, because considering COVID-19 circumstances, we are all pretty much in that frame of mind where we are feeling the threat from the unforeseen circumstances. And especially a child, for them, it is quite very, unprecedented times where they're not attending school as much. They are not being in their class and being with their peers, having that routine. So it is quite difficult for them to be where they are at this point in time. However, having parents around make a huge difference. So we need to understand how a parent can support their child very well. I think that the thing that you and me were talking quite heavily about was the understanding that how our threat mechanisms can work sometimes. It's what I call is the stress that parents can feel, and the stress can sometimes put us in a zone of fight or flight. So we either want to deal with it hardcore, go in there, have a little, shout, or I suppose make that noise around our child, or perhaps just leave them to it and then think that it's beyond my capacity. Well, the good news is it isn't beyond any parent's capacity. So that's actually a very good news. We might feel quite exasperated with our efforts, but at the same time, it is very much every parent can handle it once they start recognizing those triggers of what's really happening in this room, what's really happening in me, what's really happening in my child, and the dynamics between those two very important factors here. So if we were to talk about that, I suppose I would really like to mention that once as a parent we recognize that, oh, this is too much for me, or why isn't my child listening to me, or what am I doing wrong? That is a time, that is mindfulness, where you have got to be quite conscious of what's happening there, and retrieve to the basic strategies that we're going to talk about today, which are perhaps breathing. I really I can't stress enough rather on the emphasis on breathing, those just to calm yourself down, because more we breathe, more oxygen we are pumping in, and more solution focused approach is happening, which is we are coming up with solutions rather than actually saying I can't do it. So I think breathing was something that I really wanted to emphasize. Then there's a model.
Sorry, I'm just gonna add a question here, Deepti. Since everybody is talking about the importance and significance of breathing right now, even in our previous live stream, we had somebody who taught us a breathing exercise. I think your knowledge is even deeper into the brain sciences. Would you just, in a layman's language, let us understand what breathing really does to our brain and how it helps us to calm down?
Yeah. So, Rakhi, if we were to consider the more neurochemical side of things, I would like to sort of not make it very complicated for us to understand. But
Right.
our brain has certain very necessary endorphins. We secrete them without realizing. They're called opiates, oxytocins, serotonins and dopamine. However, opiates and oxytocins are very relevant. Now, why they're relevant? It's because it takes us to our happy place. We are in our
Right.
best self. And that brain, I'm not talking about existing in adults. We are talking about the way our brains are designed. That also includes the young people. So if they are feeling the stress and they are into that fight and flight mode, they are also
Right.
not breathing. And if they are not breathing, they are not producing those positive, what you call them as happy chemicals that would help them calm themselves. So it's almost regulating your inner self, emotional self. And
Right.
when we breathe, we are allowing ourselves to sort of move from the threat area, which is linked here to the bottom of our brain, onto literally the more developed part, which is prefrontal cortex, where we actually think.
Right.
And that is why
Right.
I feel that breathing is highly relevant to both the parties in a room when they are dealing with each other, be it an adult and a child.
Right, right. And I can't hold myself mentioning here, this little gig that I do with the kids at Spiritual Gym for Kids. Like you also mentioned, the gentleman, Dan Siegel. So he has a wonderful method, the hand model, by which he explains this entire phenomena as to what happens. What is this whole interrelation between emotions and thoughts and how the brain really regulates it. So that's how I explain the children that you've got the upstairs brain that is responsible for the thinking and reasoning, and then you have the downstairs brain, which is responsible for our emotions and our survival instinct, right? And they somewhere keep communicating with each other. And then when we have this intense triggered emotions such as anger, there is a complete hijack of that midbrain, which is the amygdala, right? And that is when we flip our lid and we lose this connection between the upper and the downstairs brain, and then all the hell breaks loose, right?
Absolutely.
I think did I say it right?
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying a very simple way for kids.
Yeah, I think it is having that kind of control. Well, I'm using a very strong word, control, but managing amygdala in the most clever manner, which sits here at the little bit bottom. It's called like a reptilian brain because it's come from the term reptile, which means animal.
Right.
So animals only get angry or they lose their calm when they have to go out hunting, and otherwise they hide away. So this is how animals really work. So amygdala, fight and flight, sits here, and then we just need to be a little bit mindful about that. And as an adult, it is our responsibility to model that behavior in front of our kids, that you can go beyond it. You have to control that. And that's what the sort of message we are also delivering each time we are dealing with a situation that might be stressful for ourselves.
Right. Awesome. So our first strategy is definitely breathing exercise in order to manipulate with that brain, right?
Yeah.
Lead us to the other ones, Deepti.
I suppose one of the very...
Deepti, could you be a little louder? Little louder, maybe, on the screen?
Let me just check if there's something I can do from my end.
This is much better since you're closer to the device. This is much better.
I suppose there's a model that we follow here with because I'm based in education setting and I work with lots of young people. My major work is with young people and their families, and so there's a model that I follow that I've learned from the training that I'm receiving from the University of East London. So there's a model that we follow called PACE, which is called working with the child's pace, but it is split into 4 items, such as playfulness for P, A for acceptance, C for curiosity, and E for empathy. And this model has been developed by a clinical psychologist from America called Daniel Hooks. So Dr. Daniel Hooks. So we sort of really believe in this model because it sort of incorporates everything that will help you work with your child in the most, I suppose, productive manner, or connect to your child, and at the same time help your child develop into, find, I suppose, getting into that adulthood stage. So PACE is something that I would really want to emphasize. I mean, if there's some sort of a question that you can, like example that you can give me and I can break it down for...
Yes, absolutely. So how is it that a parent, since a lot of us are going through anxiety and the kids are also going through these cycles of anxiety, so how can pace? I mean, how can the viewers be reminded of this model called pace, and how can they instantly find some calm and peace inside with that?
Yeah. So pace, obviously, when I say playfulness, the minute we are playing or we are engaging ourselves with our children in a playful way, it could be just having a
Right.
laugh and a joke. It could be just having, cracking a, being silly around them and say, oh my God, mama gets it wrong. Or can you help me with
Right.
this? Like, oh my God, you're a genius. How did you do that? Sort of a thing. That little amazement in your eyes, and making that child feel really valued through the ways of play.
Mm-hmm.
When I say playful, again, it's like, if you have really young kids, playing around with them, be that little monkey for them, or be that little dog or rabbit in
Okay.
the room for them, or rolling them around and doing that hide and seek, and the things
Right.
that we probably do with our siblings. And it's a space can be
Yeah.
doing that the same way as we could, the interplay between siblings. But the idea is to
Right.
actually engage with your child in that calm, playful way, rather than actually the child feeling the worry, the threat of being that fight and flight that we were talking about. So almost,
Right. जैसे सारे सारे
more,
ज्ञान देते हैं कि हमेशा बच्चे बने रहो. Always be a
exactly.
child and be playful.
Yeah.
That's exactly,
Yeah.
it's got a scientific reason there.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
modeling that kind of behavior. So,
Right.
and they also say that more we are playing with our children or playing around them in that capacity of, bachpana sort of a thing, we are exchanging, or we are, generating in that way, sort of, I suppose, yeah, generating in that way the chemicals that I was talking about, which
Happy
is most
hormones.
important. Yeah, opiates and oxytocin I
Right.
was talking about. So
Right.
you're exchanging them, you're helping them create them, and they can actually take themselves back from any stress or any
Right.
difficulty that they might be experiencing to a playful
Right.
mode.
Right.
So playfulness sits there. When your child comes to you and say, I'm really bored. So just say, what exciting thing can we do? Or what is it that makes you really excited? And just join them in
Right.
that. Even if they're playing their own PS4s, just be a part of them, and then let them feel that you were quite a contributory factor there. So they exchange that favor with you by being a part of something that you want them to do with you, just to build that emotional bonding, that social emotional connection with them.
And
then
what's the A? What's the
A
A?
for
And thanks Adish for putting all that down for us in those comments. Thank you.
no problem. So A is acceptance. Acceptance
Okay.
means accepting your child whichever level they are. So if they are telling you they are bored, don't just say, oh, how can you be bored? Like obviously not empathizing there, understanding that they are so used to having a routine. It is very much inevitable for them to feel bored around not having that routine and not around
all the
being with their
time.
peers. So accepting your child whichever level they are. Acceptance sits really deep. You can actually take it from the early years of childhood to the adulthood. Accepting your child whichever level they are helps them to move forward with you, on that way, that in that direction that you want them to. C for me sits at curiosity, which means you're very curious about yourself. You're showing them that you're interested in them, and it matters to them, because that helps them build the basic factors of, I suppose, around self-esteem, and that confidence that I'm a valued individual, because I'm valued so much at home, because my mom thinks I'm, worthy of whatever. My friends will also have that impression about me. It's having that curiosity in a child helps them be open and honest to you. I have so many parents say, well, my child doesn't talk. It's because maybe there's not enough curiosity exchange there. You're not asking enough questions. You need to ask your child questions. Even if they're telling you they're not willing to tell you, be that person available for them, which I'm going to cover in my third strategy, which is EA. But let's just stick to curiosity for now, just to encourage your child to talk. And then E sits where empathy sits. So each time they're telling you they're bored, or each time they're telling you that, it's not nice and this COVID-19 is frightening them and they don't know how it's going to be, equally you are frightened as well. However, that empathy exchange can take place, and the child can understand that it's not just me feeling this way. Everybody's in the same situation, that impactful exchange needs to happen between a parent and child to build trust, to be on that level where we keep on saying we are all in this together, make them feel that way, that they are in this together with that empathy exchange.
Okay, so Deepti, we have a comment here, rather a question from Gauri Khanna, and she's
Yeah.
asking, how do we deal with curiosity with teenagers? So
Hi,
so
Gauri.
so Gauri, that's how do we deal with? Oh, you mean the teenagers are very curious to discover their world? Is that's what I understand? Deepti, could you help us with this answer since you deal with a lot of
I
adolescents?
I think it's not the teenagers you're talking about. Kids have always been curious, and we've always liked that about them. Kids have always been curious, and I know parents who have real difficulty if their kids aren't curious. You know, that curiosity takes them not just the questions that they want to ask us, but they want to ask everyone in the room. They want
Right.
to
Yeah.
know, they want to know about everything about everyone, and you know,
Right.
every basic. So I think that curiosity is actually a very, what do you say,
A useful
useful or
tool.
very good trait that a
Emotion.
child can
Right.
develop. Exactly, absolutely, that very useful, you know, attribute in a child. So I think
Right.
we need to actually nurture that attribute rather than
Right.
actually
Right.
disposing that at any point. So if your teenager is curious, please help them get the right information. You know, if a child does not have right information, that is more dangerous. So if your
Beautiful.
child is coming to you with curiosity, that means they are able to trust you. So yay, good there. They're able to approach you. You are that approachable adult for them. They are emotionally able to connect with you because you are what, you know, that's going to filter or provide them with that
Looking
information
up
that
to
they
you.
want to come to the right safe people rather than asking their peers.
Right.
So we rather have young people come to their respective parents to ask information than strangers or
Right.
outside people who we don't know, you know, where in which direction that information would be delivered and whose
Right.
advantage. So we need to be
Very
very
well
mindful of
said.
that.
Yes. And Gauri, if you have any particular concern, you can put that also in the comment section. And I think Deepti handled that very well. Thank you, Nishianti. Thank you for your lovely message there. All right. Let's move on, Deepti. Let's move on to the next segment. We got done with empathy. Maybe you want to move further. We're done with breathing
So
and we're done with pace. Thank you, Adish, for putting it all down for us. All right.
however, I think pace is something that obviously I have covered. However, I cannot, you know, stress enough about pace. So please, if you get any moment, go and, you know, read up on it. It's from Dr. Daniel Hooks. We here, you know, in like the education that works here, we are actually really encouraging and promoting, and there's a big propaganda around pace in the UK, as well as it's really big in America as well. So obviously
Right.
understanding that pace really sits at the bottom of everything. And if you're struggling with things, break them down and think how can you work around pace, because it will fit in. However, if you don't
Right.
have enough information, please seek information. Don't just give up on it. The model is amazing. I can't, you know,
Right.
stress upon it enough. I think the third factor I would really like to go over is being
Deepti,
that.
Deepti, can we take one more question because that's also
Please,
around the same issue?
please.
Sulat Singhal is asking, ma'am, please suggest how to deal with mood shift of adolescent. I think that's a
Okay.
very common, very valid question,
Yeah.
and I've heard that from many parents. The
Okay.
teenager syndrome.
So I think if I was to talk about that, that would actually just take us the whole hour or so. So we've got to be really careful.
Okay.
Maybe you can request Rakhi to get me back again, and I could go over it in
All right.
real
That's right.
specifics. However, this is a very
Sulat, we'll
relevant
get back
thing.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I would just simplify and condense it as much as I can in obviously making sure that it's quite understandable and, you know, receptive for you to understand where we're coming from. But teenage brain is really different. It is going through a lot of something that we understand as pruning. Pruning, it has way too many nerve cells than you can imagine. By the age between 11 to
Ah.
18, 19, the nerve
Ah.
cells are doing a lot of drama in there. So for them,
Ah.
teenage brain is completely different from a childhood's brain or an adulthood brain, because by the time they actually get to adulthood, the brain nerve cells have done what they need to do. They have pruned enough. They have made that child, you know, capable enough to deal with the adult world. Whereas the
Right.
time, the transition that they go through those, you know, the years from 11 till 18, 19,
Yeah.
it is immense for them. And I think all we can do is be very much there with them with pace, because it is a lot for them to handle. You know, they are having all these
Right.
new chairs with a pressure coming from outside, the peer pressure, then the confusion about what I'm going to do when I'm going to grow up. Everybody keeps telling me I should be able to do this and do that, and there's a lot of pressure from social world. So the brain is trying to make sense of everything, and the only place that it finds safe enough to have that drama is before their parents and at home in their comfort environments, and we're like, oh my god, that's too much for me to deal with, because I'm a parent. I don't know how to deal with that. So I suppose that, as I said, teenage, it's little understanding of knowing about your child, which can sit around with curiosity. More you ask questions, more you are on that same page with them.
Right. I'd also like to add another point here, since I've had a lot of teenagers and preteens attend my workshops. There is one concern that they've always shared, that we all want to have our time alone. We just maybe want to be with our mobile phone or just sitting all by ourselves. We don't want to be around parents all the time. We want that alone time. And the parents somehow are not very patient about this whole shift in them, because the parents start to miss the child, that, oh my God, what is wrong with my child? Is he or she under a wrong influence? Why they do not want to spend enough family time? And that's when I tell them that, look, guys, it's perfectly normal. It's your body, it's your hormones. The shift that you're going through is physical. And it's only for us, for all the parents in the house, it's only for us to understand that we have to allow them to pass through that shift. Let them have that time alone. Keep them monitored, but give them a lot of room and space to experience the emotions that they're feeling. So this is what is happening to them naturally. They are not going to be deviated. That makes sense.
I think that is absolutely right where you're coming from. And I think it's a brilliant advice that you are giving to parents. However, I think one thing I would just like to add there is, it's very important for the parent to know a couple of things. Why is child choosing to be alone all the time? Second of all, what is the child doing, young person rather, when they are by themselves? Because if they're spending a lot of time on social media, that is not very healthy either for their mental health.
Absolutely.
So social media tends to create a sense of, I suppose, something that we understand as social comparison, and that is very detrimental to their mental well-being.
Instant gratification.
If they have a hobby that they are doing in terms of art or dancing, or they like to do their own thing in their room, very much they need that space, because they are testing everything that they think that makes them happy. So giving them that sort of space is a good idea. However, when you say monitoring, I wonder if you can make those checks in with your child as to what they are doing or what they're up to. Because if your child is not outside or spending time with you and spending time on their own, what are they really missing out on? So
I think what I hear is that they want to spend a lot of time with their friends. Is what I hear, that our friends understand us more. This is what they start speaking.
Yeah, because their friends are also going through the similar turmoil of that teenage brain that we were talking about.
Right.
However, you can be that friend. So there's space for you. Be that friend. Become that playfulness with them. Involves that little bit of, what is it that I can do? But can we just, spend time? What is the movie that you like to watch? Make me watch the movie with you and act all curious as if you're watching it for the first time. Oh my God, that's so amazing. I didn't know to fall in love with him. Why is she going to go with him and not with him? I don't know. Just create that little amazement in their lives that they actually can feel that you're relating to them. You're on their level.
That's a brilliant idea. Going back to pace. I think pace is what can really set them up. All right, cool. That's excellent. Let's move on to the next one. We've got breathing and pace so far.
So I think one another factor which I think is very useful for both adults and adolescents and young people is to recognize and find an emotionally available adult. It would be great if your kids found that person in you, that emotionally available adult. It'd be brilliant. That trusting adult where they can just turn back to and say, I'm struggling. There's something I need your help with. And it's very important for an adult to have an emotionally available adult, be it your parents, be it somebody you trust, your closest aunt, your very intimate friends, or your partner who you sort of see a friend. And so it's important that we have those trusting relationships, because that allows us to return to that calm state over and over again every time we feel it's too much for us to deal with at times. So I think emotionally EAA, something that we understand here, emotionally available adult, is a very useful concept to have within your family. Be that person for your child. so that he can come back to say, you know, I hang around with this friend, but there's something funny about him that he wants to tell you. So be that person for your child, you know.
Be that
that
friend for your child.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. I want to ask you a question here, Deepti.
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents, since kids are at home, and even in fact, before this whole quarantine phase, kids nowadays, of course, are spending a lot of time on gadgets. And if people in the room are parents like me, we can really flip our lid when the child is overusing the gadget. You know, though we try to put those systems and discipline in place, but of course there are days when it's a challenge to regulate gadget time. Do you want to throw some light around that gadget use and how we can calm
Yeah.
ourselves down when this happens?
I think that also somewhat links with our neurochemistry, you know, our anatomy. We have to be very careful that whatever will stimulate a child's brain, they are going to sort of hook onto it. So if that is gadget for your children because they've discovered that and their friends are also finding it quite entertaining and, you know, quite something that you know, helps them feel quite a part, a sense of belongingness with, you know, with their peers and stuff like that. So they will sort of hook onto it. However, at the same time, just the realization that if your child is spending too much time on gadgets, it's not healthy. Because if they are too much on gadgets, what is it that they're missing out on? They're missing out on you. They're missing out on the relationships that you know, the times that you're spending as family together. They're missing out on outdoor play, which is so necessary. They're missing out on their learning, their own development. So if they are on gadgets too much, it is something, it's like a little bit of a, you know what you mean, like a little sign or an indicator as to what's really going on there. And again, I am going to return to the idea that we need to put pace there. Understanding your child, accepting that they are spending too much time, which means that I need to be a little bit more involved. I need to I need to make sure that there's some sort of strategy or some sort of plan that the child can return to when I'm telling them that they can't be on the gadgets for that long.
And how much of gadget time? How much of gadget time is really permissible in a day across age groups, let's say?
I'm not sure about that. Lucky, each household is different. I suppose if a parent is not available for certain reasons, you know, because of their work or their commitments or something, the child can entertain themselves. But if as a parent is around and there are things that you're doing downstairs in your drawing room together and having mealtime together, the child shouldn't really go into their room and want to be on the gadget. It's like, what is it that's making them more attracted to the gadget than the time with you? Are you sharing enough curiosity there? Are you interested in their life, or are you too busy on your own gadget? What is it that they're modeling? So you've got to watch yourself there. You know, if you are not interested in telling them to sit on the couch and just look at the ceiling or look around the room, it is not going to help unless you are involved with your child. So there's not I wouldn't say there's any particular time restriction or certain window that the child can fill with technology, depending why they're choosing a technology and not a book, why they're choosing not to go on their bike and outside, or doing some I don't know, other sort of things. Why are they choosing technologies? Because that's producing those really good chemicals for them to be in a good place, such as opiates and oxytocin, as I take it back there to our
There's an important question that had come in the stories question, and I think more parents also would want to know, when the child keeps saying that I'm getting bored, is it a good thing sometimes from a creative standpoint to allow children to get bored so that it sparks the creativity in them?
But
how would you?
But the most necessary part is, have your child been creative in the past? Have you noticed a sense of creativity in your child? Maybe he's struggling. Maybe she's struggling. Maybe she needs your help to be creative. So just letting them say, you be creative. How? I've never been creative. When I was young, I used to be on the iPad. Now I'm on the mobile. Then I'm on the PS4. I'm not creative. Help me being creative. And then say, no, you need to be creative. It doesn't work like that. If you think that the child needs to be creative and there's a little bit of a glitch there that the child isn't able to be as creative, then what are you doing to sort of, facilitate them to be able to be creative there? You need to build that process. You need to build it, the scaffolding for them. So if they are not enough creative, then help them being creative. What is it that they can do? Can they do drawing? You think painting is a good idea? Paint it with them. Get a something like, start with the painting. If it doesn't come out well, ask them, can you help me? Can you do something for me? Like, can we do it together?
Sure.
So if your child isn't creative, it's probably because they haven't learned that sense of creativity, because
Right.
there might be not enough parental involvement at a very early age. I'm just making all these assumptions. There could be multiple
Sure.
reasons.
Sure.
However,
I
expecting your child to be creative at a certain age might be challenging unless you again go back to pace and involve yourself.
Got it. Got it. And I want to actually mention one more strategy here. In fact, an area that needs a lot of importance, because a parent at the end of the day will get exhausted and will get consumed. So, so I'd love that if we talk more about how important self-care is in keeping yourself calm and sane in the middle of this whole chaos. So if you just talk about it, and then we're going to summarize it up for
Yeah.
our viewers.
I think there's one thing I would really like to mention here is to not just apply pace to your child, but also have that acceptance and empathy and compassion for yourself. You know, giving yourself permissions to do a lot of things by saying, oh, this is hard. Instead of, you know, losing it, I am going to remove myself. I'm giving myself that choice. And when you're doing that, you know, maybe taking yourself to a place which makes you feel safe, which makes you feel happy, which makes you feel, you know, obviously, again, sort of helps you regenerate yourself in a way that you feel a little bit more ready with your child, you know, for the routine, yeah, or for anything. So some people have their own calm areas, you know, some people have reading routines, some have, they're very connected to spirituality, some do yoga, some do meditation. So giving yourself those permission, you know, that time or that permission to actually just remove yourself.
The me time.
Right, absolutely.
Right.
It sits
Brilliant.
very well, very deeply into you. You can't attune or engage with your child if you are constantly feeling anxious yourself. So you've got to model that right behavior, that if you are anxious and if you sense that in yourself, then allow yourself to you know, to return, to go to a place to help yourself, calm yourself, or speak to that adult we were talking about before, and then be able to return and really take on what really needs your attention. So, and also, I also feel some women, as we know, we are so used to multitasking as women. Sometimes we forget that we are not able to prioritize things. We want to do everything at one time. So prioritizing is very, very necessary. What really needs your attention? It's you, it's your family, it's your kids, or other things, you know, your relationships. But don't exhaust yourself saying, I'm so used to having 3 dishes a night. Where are my 3 dishes? If they're not there, I'm not going to eat tonight. You know what I mean? So prioritizing,
Right. Awesome. That was so valuable. And with that, I'm going to shift gears and ask if there is any question or any query with our audience right here. And while you're sending your comment or maybe a query, I'm just going to quickly summarize what the inputs that Deepti has given us, all the strategies. Adish, you've been very helpful. Thank you. I think where we started was with deep breathing, the impact deep breathing has on controlling our brain. And then we moved on to pace, playfulness, acceptance, curiosity, empathy. And the third very valid point that she had mentioned was EAA, being an emotionally available adult, right? And the fourth one was self-care, right? Taking that me time for yourself. I think that has been so amazing. That is a lot of information for us parents out there to stay sane, stay calm. It's been very valuable, Deepti. I have loved this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Rakhi. I really appreciate it. And I'm really, as I said initially, you know, that I'm really proud of what you're trying to sort of deliver there, and, you know, the work that you are doing. And thank you so much for the audience that we've had today. They seemed like really curious, interested in what we had to say. And, you know, and all we can do is empower those parents out there. You know, be their best selves, because that's what the parents sometimes need. We all need that little guidance, you know, that bouncing off each other. And anything that can be useful, even if we managed to have one single parent today, I think it's been quite useful. Mission accomplished, I rather say.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you to everybody in the room. We've had almost about 45 to 50 people join us all this while. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. And we'll see you again on the next live stream, which is coming up on Tuesday. You have a good evening. Namaste. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thanks for joining
me.
Me.
Bye now.
Bye. Bye. I'll catch you after this. Okay. Bye.